Neighboring Colorado got a lot of national attention in recent years after voters legalized recreational marijuana there. Here in New Mexico, only medical marijuana is legal. You may not know that there's been a great deal of secrecy about who has applied for licenses to produce marijuana here. And journalist Peter St. Cyr wrote about the secrecy in the application process recently for the Santa Fe Reporter. And Senator Feldman, that was a fascinating read. I highly recommend it. It's very interesting. Let me start with a question that just kept coming to mind as I was reading it. Should the public, in fact, know who's applying for these things? Is it that important for the public to know who's applying for a medical marijuana application in the first place? Why do we need to know this in the first place?
Well, they're a contractor with state government, so I think to the extent that the public has a right to know who's contracting with state government in any area,
but even in the application process, even if you don't make the cut, so to speak, or you're not chosen.
Well, I hadn't thought of that, but this is an area. I don't really worry about the contractors themselves. I worry about the patients,
Gotcha.
you know, and those are the ones I think we need to protect. But it was interesting that Darren White, who was one of the applicants here, said that he was brought in as a security device for the applicants. I'm glad that, you know, that Peter St. Cyr brought out that information, which would not have been brought out, although I thought the governor had assigned the Department of Health to be more open about these things. They're not more open about these things. I think Peter got the information from the Secretary of State.
That's right.
And some sort of registry there. So, and then he found all these familiar names.
Interesting that, you know, the overall, Tom Garrity, the overall thrust of the piece is there's money to be made and folks are looking to make it. And part of that is, you know, we have to have 10,000 on the table to apply. If you don't make it, you get 9,000 of it back. But then there's 30,000 you have to pay annually to keep your license. Doesn't this just make it seem like the well-heeled only can get into the game of medical marijuana?
Well, I mean, well-heeled only. I mean, you know, I think it's all a matter of perspective. But you know, when you look at, you know, the potential returns of $150 million and that Colorado has seen over the last year,
that's right.
I mean, you know, $40,000, $50,000 cost of entry is not a whole lot of money and stuff, just to kind of get to that table. So, you know, but is it keeping other people out? You know, we don't know.
Right.
You know, the list that was made public through the reporting and stuff seemed like a pretty comprehensive list as far as, you know, you don't have any, you know, large organizations like Philip Morris in there, right? They're all just New Mexico-based type of groups.
Right, exactly. Gabe, your thought on that? That's an interesting point. There aren't a lot of out-of-staters with well-heeled operations other places. These are New Mexicans, ostensibly.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
So far. So a couple things. One, transparency, I'd be all for it. Remember, we do that with liquor licenses. You get it slapped on your establishment. Why should we be any different here? Would be my take on that.
That makes sense.
Thinking about the money piece. So my shop's been analyzing how much revenue could come in. Couple things just to consider in the numbers. Colorado, much bigger population base. We're not going to see that level of money. Tax base, even if we went fully recreational, do everything Colorado does, we have about 25, 27 million annually, and nothing to sneeze about in tax revenue, but we get kind of, you know, misled sometimes by looking at Colorado. Remember, our population base ain't going to generate the same revenue. Once we start to see this get a little bit closer, I guarantee you're going to see a lot of out-of-state big money interest come in. That's what happened in Colorado. A lot of folks need to remember that was big money that came in and is capitalizing on their ability to get in quickly and have the technology to put in place quickly to make it happen.
Right, and like any other business, when you're first in, first mover advantage is a big deal.
That's gold.
Right.
Big deal, absolutely.
But we do need to make the distinction. This is medical marijuana. This is not legalized marijuana for the entire population. So there's going to be a difference in revenue and approach, and even medical marijuana seems to be quite lucrative. I think they've said it was 7.4 million that these folks had been, the existing contractors had been able to earn in the past 3 months. And they've increased the number of plants that each vendor can grow. And there are more and more people, there are more and more conditions that now are eligible to get medical marijuana. So Whether the state, though, will actually legalize marijuana, I think is kind of at this point a longer shot. But that's the gateway to that revenue.
That's right. It's the medical part.
The gateway.
First time it's a gateway.
Gateway. Not bad.
You said it, I did.
Right. Tom, one of the little interesting little bits that political stuff tends to be about a constellation of events happening rather than one big lightning strike. We've had a couple of city councilors once again propose to decriminalize small amounts of marijuana here in Albuquerque. That's happened in Santa Fe. The world hasn't fallen apart in Santa Fe, and so folks are feeling more empowered with this. That's part of the process, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, isn't that what makes New Mexico really kind of fun at times, right?
True.
Is you
Very
have
true.
city law or city ordinances that conflict with state and federal law. I applaud the two councilors for wanting to bring it up, but until the state law is changed, I really see it just more as a distraction. It's not something that is, it's just going to create confusion and could create harm as a result, unintended consequences.
Gabe, one of the things to circle back on that, it was the interesting question that we had on the ballot question. Do you support decriminalization or not? Had a lot of support in Santa Fe, but a lot of support here in the mid 60%, I believe, somewhere around there.
66, 67?
Yeah, somewhere around there. That's not an insignificant number. So the people have somewhat spoken. These are voters only, not the entire population of the city. But again, the plan was to use that as a stepping stone towards things like this.
No, I think that's the key. And I think in the context, even as a pollster who would normally say you want everybody in the poll, the fact that it was voters helps these legislators, because they could say not just the people, but the people who are going to be voting on our re-election want to see this happen. Challenge with this is an electoral one. I think, you can make the debate about is it good or bad policy. We could have that discussion, but the electoral politics side of this is why I think it'll be difficult. And that's the notion of having this on the ballot is a mobilizing effect for a certain segment of the electorate who tends to be more democratic.
That's right.
So what the mayor does and thinking about the governor and the implications of this actually being implemented, it'll be difficult just because of that elephant in the room. Putting that on the ballot, people know impacts turnout. And that makes it a partisan issue, even if policy-wise we might say it's not.
Well said. That's interesting. That's all the time we have. Join us online to hear what this week's Align Opinion panelists had to say about the idea of creating multiple districts out of the Albuquerque School District as it stands now. I'm Gene Grant. Thanks for joining us this week. Just to remind you, we have links to all the information about voting in the upcoming Albuquerque City Council elections on our website, NewMexicoInFocus.org. We can also find links to videos and past programs. And as always, we appreciate your time and effort to stay informed and engaged. And we'll see you next week in Focus. Get a preview of what's coming up on the next New Mexico in Focus. It's easy. Sign up for our weekly email at NewMexicoInFocus.org.